The answer to that question is yes. This is one that actually had a bit of controversy surrounding the film, and I may butcher the story, but essentially it was something along the lines of, this film has been completed for the past several years. Ultimately, it went through a lot of hurdles to be fully released. As it is now, I believe I'd heard a rumor that the film was going to be discarded, essentially just used as a tax write-off. Like, we actually weren't going to be able to view the film. Like, there was never going to be a finished theatrical release of the film, which was a bit disheartening to hear. Thankfully, that's not the reality that we live in, and through some circumstances that I'm not completely privy on, we live in a time now where we did get the film, theatrical release of the film. And with that being said, I was able to view the film today. So one of the big questions is, do I think that the film is worthy of being released, or should it have been discarded? And my answer to that question overall is a little bit complicated, because I didn't have high hopes for the film. I mean, I wasn't like on the edge of my seat ready to buy a ticket or ready to see this film, ready to check it off the must-see list of the year, anything like that. I wasn't really clamoring to see it or anything like that. So my answer to the question, is the film worthy of being released, or should it have just been forgotten? I think ultimately I do land on the I'm glad that it's here side. The film does follow a bit of a wacky story when you boil it down to its bare minimum, though. I think you do just have a David and Goliath type story here. It's nothing that's reinventing the wheel. It's nothing that's going to be revolutionary. It's nothing that's going to be life-altering. It's nothing that's going to make you ponder the great questions of life, anything like that. It's here for a good time. It's just slapstick comedy. It's, if you've seen other Looney Tunes films like Space Jam or Looney Tunes Back in Action, I think it very much falls kind of in that same category. Like, you most certainly know what you're getting yourself into here. In a way, I think it is very refreshing to see a movie of this caliber released in 2026. This very much feels like a film that would have flourished or thrived in the early to mid 2000s. Like, this feels like something that would have been released back in the day, would have had great success back in that time period. Most likely would have had a video game tie-in to it as well. There's something so just refreshing and comforting to see a movie like this being released now. It feels like something that's been forgotten over the years. And that being said, this movie does capture that feeling of the early 2000s to mid 2000s, kind of almost like the end of the Looney Tunes era, if I might be so bold. I think, at least for me, that's about when I quit watching Looney Tunes overall, somewhere around the Looney Tunes Back in Action era. But this film harkens back to that era. I think it does a very serviceable job at that. Now, when it comes down to our big two questions, was the film fun? I really want to say temper your expectations. Like, the film is great. There's great writing, there's great jokes, there's great slapstick humor in here. I will say, it's not a rolling on the floor, busting your gut laughing type of film. Like, there's some jokes here that land, and there's some here that don't land. And that's not even just me. The theater that I was viewing the film in today, it almost felt like the laughs were few and far between. The theater, like the audience overall, was, I could probably count on one hand how many times the audience laughed. And I'm not excluded from that. I think there's some things that worked with the film, humor-wise, and there's some things that didn't work. But at the same time, as much as I feel like I want to be dismissive of the movie, like, oh, it's a film from a bygone era, it's not really something that necessarily works today. There's a part of me that wants to be that way, kind of dismissive like that, but there's also a part of me that is really glad that this film is out, like I said, because it reminds us of that era, of that humor, of that time in our lives, basically. I think there's like a nostalgic aspect to the film, like, because it feels like a film for newcomers and people who watched Looney Tunes way back in the day too. And like I said, story-wise, you don't really have anything reinventing the wheel. It's essentially just a David versus Goliath type of story here. We have Will Forte. Apologies if I said his name incorrectly. He plays the Saul Goodman type lawyer. He's kind of lower tier on the totem pole as far as lawyers go. You have him facing off against the Acme Corporation, headed by John Cena, and they are essentially the big dogs in town. I think John Cena does a really good job here. There's some laughs here that came from him, and the way that he's kind of playing the villain here, I thought he did a really good job. Will Forte as well. A lot of the movie falls on his back. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, because he's, of course, the main character, the underdog of the story. I am very pleased with both of their performances. I think they did a great job. So at the end of the day, was the film fun? I would say yes, but I'm not going to put like an overwhelmingly like recommendation stamp on that. I think it's Like I said, if you've seen other films like Space Jam or Looney Tunes Back in Action, you already know kind of what to expect here. And this film might be a little bit higher tier than those films, but I think they kind of still fall in line with both of those. Like, truth be told, I haven't seen Space Jam or Looney Tunes Back in Action since I was a kid, so I'm viewing that kind of through my kid glasses here. But I remember watching those films and really gravitating toward them. I thought they were a great time, and I think this one's going to be no different. I think this is a film that is going to be a good time. You're not going to walk out of the theater disappointed by it if you're coming into it with that Looney Tunes, that slapstick type of mindset. So our last big question, do I recommend the film? And I believe I kind of already answered that a little bit. If you've seen Space Jam or Looney Tunes Back in Action or just Looney Tunes in general, and they're just something that really strikes a nerve with you, that something's really up your alley, this film is going to be no different. I think you're very much, you know what you're getting yourself into, and this film delivers. Absolutely. If you've seen the aforementioned films previously and they were not for you, I don't think this is going to be a film that changes that. But at the end of the day, it's just a film to kind of cut on, have a good time with, maybe have a couple laughs with. It's nothing that serious, of course. So with that being said, thank you for sticking with me.